one before this episode of the F2 show starts. Completely shameless plug. If you haven't done so already, press the subscribe button. We're trying to reach 100,000 subscribers this year, so we'd be incredibly grateful for any support that you could show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Enjoy the podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to the F2 show by Inside F2. It's our favourite time of year where we predict the 2024 season and how it goes. And joining myself to embarrass myself on this one, we have Inside F2 writers Lawrence Griffin and Jenny Craig. I'm sure your answers won't be as embarrassing as mine, but we almost set ourselves up to fail every single year, Lawrence, don't we? Because Formula 2 is the most unpredictable category and we try and predict it at the start of every year. It's just silly, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. And, you know, especially this year with, you know, changes to the cars as well, it's going to shake things up even more. So I don't think we really stand much of a chance, but we're going to try. And that should be fun to watch anyway.
Yeah, we're going to give it a go. Jenny, you ready to completely embarrass yourself? Or how confident are you feeling with predictions? You might get a few right.
I'm not that confident. I think there's a couple that we've got pretty nailed on, but then last year we thought that Doohan would be challenging and he wasn't that close towards the start of the season, so we never know.
It is so unpredictable, isn't it? And that's what I said. It's silly, really, isn't it, predicting it? But we're going to give it a go. And we've done, we've taken some predictions as well from our Discord community. So thank you to everyone for getting involved in that. We're going to speak about those as we go through as well. But guys, let's get going. Then the first category we've got is first new winner. And when we say new winner, obviously that excludes people that have won in the category before. So that's Victor Martins, Ollie Behrman, Dennis Hauger, Jack Crawford, Enzo Fittipaldi, Richard Bashaw, and Isaac Hadjar, who, believe it or not, is classed as a race winner after his one-lap win around Zandvoort last year. So those drivers are not included. As we said on Discord, Aaron said Zach O'Sullivan. Our father says Franco Colapinto. Rachel says Paul Aron. Zoe says Zane Maloney. Naomi says either Kimi Antonelli or Pepe Marti. Lawrence Griffin, what do you think?
Well, I've gone for Zane Maloney. So I agree with you, whoever that was that went for Zane as well. You know, a really strong rookie season with 4 podiums in there. No wins just yet, but he's definitely got that in his locker. And he's been looking very, very quick at testing, you know, fastest man in testing in Bahrain. So, you know, that second season in F2, as we've seen, it can be a massive step up in terms of confidence, in terms of performance. And so no reason, especially with that confidence he'll take through the testing, that he can't jump straight in and, you know, put on a really good show for us in Bahrain. The only reason he might not be the first winner is if someone else beats him to it, because he's so far down the grid in the sprint race because he's got pole. That could happen. So who knows? So he might well perform brilliant in Bahrain, and he might still not make it as the first new winner. So we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Although thinking about last season's predictions, didn't you predict Arthur Leclerc for this one last year, and he didn't win a race all season? So do not trust what Lawrence Griffin says. Jenny, who are you predicting first new winner in Formula 2 this season?
I went for Pepe Marti. I thought he did an amazing job with Campos. So I thought if he could do it in a Campos in F3, I think he can do it in F2.
Very interesting. Campos, good lineup this year, an all Red Bull lineup with Isaac Hadjar and Pepe Marti. So that would be very interesting to see. Lawrence, I've actually also gone with what you've said. I've also gone with Zane Maloney. I think that experience in the early part of the season will help him to get up and running very quickly. As you said, he's gone very well in testing. I think Carlin will be contenders, albeit you can't really read too much into testing. But he has gone well. So I'm with you. I think he's also going to be our first new winner in Formula 2 this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one to watch for the whole season as well. You know, he's got such an amount of talent, really mature driver. You know, there's no reason that he can't be in that title fight, which we'll come on to later, I'm sure.
We are going to get on to that, absolutely. I'm just interrupting the podcast because I want to talk to you about motorsporttickets.com, and I promise you're not going to want to miss out on this one. As the motorsport season starts, now is the best time to secure your tickets before they start to go up in price or to sell out. Motorsporttickets.com have a huge variety of different tickets from Formula 1 race weekends, which of course include Formula 2 and Formula 3, the World Endurance Championship, MotoGP, Le Mans 24 Hours, and so many other events that are going on in the world of motorsport. Get your tickets fast now by following the link in the description to see all of their exclusive offers. Right, back to the podcast. Next category, we've gone for biggest positive surprise. Zoe says Ritomo Miata for this one. Aaron says Joshua Dirksen. And Vive, I think that's how you pronounce the name, says Zane Maloney. Rachel and Naomi both say Pepe Marti as biggest positive surprise. Our father, sorry, I think that's how you pronounce the name as well. Our father says Miata as well, same as Zoe. Jenny Craig, who have you gone for as biggest positive surprise?
I've gone for Invicta Racing. I think that with Bortoletto and Miney, I think they've got such a good, strong lineup together that I think they could challenge.
Okay, Lawrence, who do you think?
So I think Jack Crawford could be a really big positive surprise. He's moving to Dams for 2024, which, is a team that's got a lot of experience that I think hopefully in terms of knowing how to learn a new car with this new chassis that we've got for 2024 and learning how to set it up, they could be, really in with the fight. They've needed a bit of an opportunity to get back to the sort of level that we've seen them at in past years. And I think this could be it. And, who knows that, Dams could be up there challenging. And certainly with Jack Crawford at the wheel, a race winner in Austria last year, showed real promise. I don't see why he can't go on and, perform consistently at the level that he showed at points last season.
I think Jack Crawford's a great shout. And yeah, on the podium, a win last season as well. Yeah, I think he is a great shout. And that combination with him and Dams, the All-American lineup at Dams, I think that could be a very strong and underrated lineup. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. I agree with you. I haven't gone with the same answer as you. I've gone with PHM for this one. I think PHM had such a difficult season last season, didn't they? No points scored all season long, first season in the category. But I think they've got a really strong lineup this year. I think Taylor Barnard and Josh Dirksen they'll both surprise this season, I think, positively. I actually think they'll both score points during the season, personally. That's probably my biggest surprise of the season. I think Taylor Barnard did really well in F3 last year. I'm really, really glad that he's got an opportunity to step up into F2, maybe earlier than planned, but I think it's still a really good step for him. And I think he'll do really well. And Josh Dirksen obviously jumping straight up from FRECA to Formula 2, bypassing Formula 3, the same as like Kimi Antonelli. I think that's a strong lineup. I think Josh Dirksen will surprise a few people. I think he's a very talented driver. I think PHM will score points this season, and I think they will do better than expected. So, yeah.
That is bold.
Yeah, I know.
Bold, Fraser. One of the more junior, I mean, PHM sort of rising from the ashes of Charouz, of course, but, effectively kind of the youngest team with two rookies on the grid as well. That is bold. No question about the talent of those drivers. You don't make the jump up from FRECA to F2 for nothing. To be the only driver alongside Kimi Antonelli, who we absolutely have and will continue to rave about, I'm sure. That is quite a jump to make up, but it is a big move no matter what stage you are at in your career. So yeah, it'll be great to see how PHM go, and I would love for you to be right with that.
Let's move on then. The most underwhelming in relation to their potential. So, someone who potentially isn't going to have a great season, not necessarily not have a great season, but they've got all the potential in the world and they don't necessarily live up to that potential. So, Aaron says reigning F3 champion Gabriel Bortoletto for this one. That is a big shout again. Aaron's on fire with the big shouts here. And Vive says Enzo Fittipaldi, which is another big shout. Rachel says Zane Maloney. Our father says Dennis Hauger. This is a controversial one, this one. And Zoe probably says the most controversial answer of them all and says Ollie Behrman, but in relation to the fact that he is expected to win the championship, but he doesn't win the championship, which I think is a fair rationale. There's some big calls in there, some really big calls. How are you going to follow that up, Jenny? Who are you going with for this one?
So I went for PHM, similar to what you guys said for the other question that was the positive surprise. I went the other way. I think although that both their drivers are strong and they've got good potential, I think because they were bottom of the championship last year, I think they needed someone with experience, and I think they've taken a big risk taking on two rookies.
Really interesting. They were obviously in talks with Ralph Bosch on at one point as well about him potentially going there. I think that would have been, as you say, a lot of experience to take there to the team. Lawrence, who do you think is going to be the most underwhelming in relation to their potential this season in Formula?
Well, I'm nervous now, you see, because you've already called out my prediction as quite a controversial one in the intro you did there. I've gone with Dennis Hauger. I think,
wow.
and I think that this is sort of the way I felt about Dennis Hauger for a little while now, in that he really does have so much potential and so much ability, and it's difficult with this question because it's in relation to potential. So, if a driver didn't have as much potential, if they weren't as good as what I think Dennis Hauger is, they wouldn't qualify for this category. But he just hasn't quite seemed to get a real streak of results together that have ever made him look like a title contender, when he definitely has that ability. So I think that he may well have another season where he picks up a few wins, and does okay, but I just think that he should be doing more than that. And who knows, maybe third season with a bit of experience and a bit more confidence that he will have made a bit more progress and he can do that. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's not always a given that the reigning Formula 3 champion comes up and dominates. And yeah, interesting prediction from Aaron as well, going for the current F3 champion. But you do look at Bortoletto's season last year, and to think that he only had, I think it was only 2 wins over the year.
First 2 feature races of the season, didn't win after that.
You do look at that and wonder, is he as strong as previous Formula 3 champions? Perhaps not, but to say that he might underperform is a big claim.
Yeah, very interesting, I guess everyone's entitled to their own opinion, which is why we love this, and because someone's got to be right. Someone's got to be right. So Dennis Hauger,
it won't be one of us.
It won't be one of us, exactly that. Yeah, because we're on the podcast, we won't get it right. But everyone who's not on the podcast will probably, there'll be the right answer in there somewhere. Dennis Hauger is a big shout, because a lot of people this season are going one way or the other with Dennis Hauger, whereby they're saying he's either going to be a title contender or he's going to flop. And there's no in between with Dennis Hauger, it seems, with the public opinion. It's going to be one or the other. So big season for him. I've gone for Franco Colapinto with this one. And actually, when I've just read my answer back, I've just been thinking, do I really think Franco Colapinto? But I guess I went with that because Franco Colapinto was perhaps a little bit underwhelming when he drove in Formula 2 for the last race of the season at Abu Dhabi. I maybe expected a little bit more from him than what he did. He's up against an experienced teammate in Dennis Hauger. Our MP going to be able to provide a winning car this season? It's let's wait and see. But yeah, I've gone with Franco Colapinto to the disappointment of all of his Argentinian following, I'm sure. Please don't hate me. If he wins a race this season, I'll be very, very happy. So let's wait and see on that one. Let's move on. Final question then. The 2024 Formula 2 champion, the big one, the big question that everyone wants to get right. Zoe has gone with Victor Martins, and Vive has also gone with Victor Martins. Aaron says Oliver Behrman. Our father says Zane Maloney. Naomi says Dennis Hauger, who Lawrence has just said he thinks he's going to flop. Rachel says Isaac Hadjar. That is a big shout, a really big shout. Obviously driving for Campos this season. Campos only won 4 races in the entirety of the modern era of Formula 2. So that would be a real turnout for the books if he does win it. Lawrence Griffin, who have you gone for?
2022 Formula 2 champion, 2024 Formula 2 champion, Ollie Behrman. I think of all the drivers you'd love to see performing at their best, watching Ollie Behrman at his best is an absolute joy. And just in terms of the raw talent he has and the way he drives, how aggressive and how quick he is, you look at moments from last season like that Baku pole with bent steering, just that was absolutely legendary as a lap. But, I think he failed to score points in 4 rounds last year, and there were a couple of rounds where he scored 1 point or 2 points. And that really has to change, because I think the other big title rival, probably the other biggest name for next season, Victor Martins, his strength was that consistency. And so, Behrman is really going to have a job on his hands to match Martins, I think. But I think that, as long as he sorts out that consistency, if we see Behrman at his best, I can't see many people stopping him.
I think that was something that they said he really worked on towards the end of last season, was his consistency with a view to a 2024 title fight, because they knew, Victor Martins only qualified outside the top 3 on 3 occasions last year. He was in the top 3 every single round, other than that on 11 occasions, which is crazy consistency, isn't it? So, Ollie Behrman, if he is going to win the title, consistency, as always, is going to be really, really important to his title challenge. Jenny, who have you gone for?
So I went the other way in my prediction. I was between Behrman and Martin, and I chose Martins because I thought the consistency for me was a big thing. I think that Porsche showed really, really well that as long as you have that, the rest it just helps everything else. And I think Behrman at his best is the best driver that we've seen come up in a long time. But I think for me, he's either the best or he's not really there at all. But I think if he does sort that out, then it'd be him.
Yeah, really interesting, isn't it? The other thing for me is are Prema potentially going to start taking, if Antonelli gets up and running early on, are Prema going to start taking points off of one another? Whereas I don't think Zach O'Sullivan will take as many points off of Victor Martin. So that's going to be a really fascinating dynamic as the season goes on.
Well, I can't believe it's taken this long for someone to mention Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
With the talent that this driver has, he's only 17, but he absolutely do not be surprised if he comes to Bahrain and blows everyone away. Do not be surprised to see him in the title fight from the get-go, because he is that good. And like I said earlier, moving up from FRECA to Formula 2 is something that only happens for select drivers. And, he is one that is being linked to, Lewis Hamilton's vacant Mercedes seat. And he hasn't even turned a wheel in Formula 2 yet. And that tells you everything you need to know about, how well respected this driver is. So, absolutely don't discount Kimi Antonelli from this conversation by all means.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Particularly with the Formula 1 silly season kicking off early with Lewis Hamilton leaving. It leaves a space on the grid wide open for Kimi Antonelli if he is to have as good a season as what we think. He needs, as a reminder, needs to win by the end of round 5 if he is to become Formula 2's youngest ever winner and beat Théo Pourchaire's record. Round 5 is, funny enough, Monaco, where Théo Pourchaire broke that record himself. So if he doesn't win in the first 4 rounds of the season and he wins in Monaco, he still becomes the youngest ever winner in Formula 2. That is how good this young man is. Well, in terms of my prediction, you'll have to go and check out our pre-season podcast for that with Alex Brundle, 2024 Formula 2 champion. I predicted that in that podcast. So I'm not going to give you my prediction. I'm going to say go and check out that podcast. Alex Brundle also did some predictions in that podcast, which was really, really interesting to get his insight and his perspective into what he thinks is going to happen in Formula 2 in 2024. So definitely go and check that out. We'll leave the link in the description below for you to go and check that out. But that's all we've got time for today. That is our predictions. We'll be reflecting on those at the end of the season, and Lawrence and Jenny, I'm sure, will be looking back and cringing at our predictions from the start of the season. You can get involved in the conversation as well with your predictions. Chat and so much more on our Discord channel. So I'm going to leave the link to the Discord channel in the description below as well. Go and check that out. It's a group of really, it's a really good community for Formula 2 fans talking all things Formula 2. But from me, Fraser Ford, and all of us here at Inside F2, we'll see you next time.